We're here today with Sean McConnell. The new album is Skin. Sean, how are you doing?
I'm great. How are you doing?
I'm doing good. I'm a huge fan of some of your previous work, especially I Could Have Been an Angel. And right away, I could tell this was going to be an album for me. You start off with the song that includes "The greatest lie the devil tells is that he's someone else."
Hmm.
Tell me about the demons that you fought over the course of your life.
So many, and all of them going back to that, like a negative voice. I think that we can always project out whatever you believe about, a devil or the devil. I think as a vehicle in a song for saying, um, we got to look, or I had to look inside of myself. Like I'm the narrator of a lot of these paradigms that I need to break. There's things about, yes, not drinking. There's things about changing behaviors on this record, but it's mostly a hopefully really honest look at myself and what I had to do or have to do to keep becoming who I feel is who I'm supposed to be.
Yeah, you talk about a demolition day for yourself. What were some of the things that you wanted to demolish?
um some of them again were, deciding not to drink was a really healthy choice for me a few years ago. It's not like a huge part of my platform or anything, but on this record, it definitely kind of pokes its head up a few times. And again, to me, it's even less about that and more about, um, I guess, demolishing whether it's bad religion that's still hanging around in your mind or um, habits that just don't serve you anymore, whether that's again a substance or even like having constant negative thoughts about yourself or about outcomes of things, looking to the future and the past instead of being present. Um, Again, that song is a pretty encapsulated example of a lot of the themes of this record.
You also say that you can find heaven within yourself.
Yeah.
Um, the devil and heaven existing in one person. Explain how it's possible to make that transformation.
I mean, I think at that, on some level, that's our human story is no one's all good or all bad. Of course, there's examples of both where like, of course, this person is all this or all that. But I think in general, if we all sit with ourselves, we know we're both. We have light and love that comes from us, and we have darkness that comes from us. And I think it's kind of maybe owning both of those and also looking at them as more of a witness to them and studying them and um yeah, the whole thing, the whole game, whatever this is about darkness and light and the yin and the yang and the and balance. And I'm just trying to internally figure that out for myself, which it's like the further you go inwards, the more it actually kind of speaks to you about everything else as well.
Yeah. Um, so one thing I noticed is that there seem to be two sources in this album of, you know, positive, healthy ways of being. One of them seems to have come from a point of innocence, and one comes from a point of maturing. So we're going to move on to The West is Never Won and talk a little bit about the innocence. You mention uh, the various ways we sort of break children down as they're growing up instead of let them follow their intuition. What are you
Yeah.
talking about there?
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely. That is exactly what that's a huge part of that song is about. And I originally started writing that song for my daughter and did and continue to think about her when I sing it, but almost equally I came to find out I was singing to my myself or my inner child or whatever you want to call that. But the kind of crux of the song being, we are our naked soul born into this world is the untamed West, and that people or systems or ideas or self-talk or this or that will try to tame you or change you or suppress you, and in whatever way that works, that can work in so many different ways. But the thought being, we can tap into that. Like if I'm singing to my daughter, like your soul, your gut, it tells you right and wrong. It tells you when to turn left, when to turn right. And it's beautiful and it's untarnished. And there's stories out there that will tell you that's not the case. And I don't want you to ever hear them or believe them if you do hear them. And yeah, I think I ended up singing as much to myself as to my daughter.
So on some of these tracks, you're talking about getting older and becoming wiser and loving more truly. And on some of these tracks, you're talking about returning to an innocent state and following more intuition.
Mm,
So, how do you figure out where, at which point do you turn to the more childlike or more intuitive way of handling things? And at which point do you say the maturity, the change, the focused restructuring is the right way to go?
mm. I kind of feel like, I don't know if this makes sense, but I kind of feel like returning to innocence, almost like the idea of like the uncarved block. I think it's like a Taoist term, or like the um like the kind of the idea. I'm not saying whether I fully believe all this or not, but a kind of constant way I believe currently is from the school of thought that we kind of teachers aren't necessarily teaching us as much as reminding us things that we already know to be true somewhere deep inside of us. Um, and so I feel like when you do tap into that child, if we were in this instance calling that childlike innocence, um, it's almost like that breeds somehow the change, the changes, the physical, mental changes you might consider more like the other end of that conversation. Is that where am I tracking with the question, you think?
Yeah, so in some ways, maturing as you get older is becoming less mature as the society might frame it.
Yeah, I think it's like and even in Skin I talk about unlearning as one of the lyrics. Like I think the unlearning is a huge, if not a bigger part than the learning for a lot of, I mean, I can speak for myself. Um yeah, the unlearning, kind of like there is a mask to be taken off just because we were born at a certain time in a certain place, and we kind of have to find ourselves outside of that story to see what might be there.
Well, we're definitely going to pick up back on that thread when we come back. We're here with Sean McConnell. The new album is Skin, and this is The West is Never Won.